Welcome to UK Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Ineos tells Starmer to reverse no new North Sea gas or oil pledge or risk future of Grangemouth. Iran's IRGC must be immediately classified as terrorists. Tens of thousands march across UK as situation worsens in Gaza. We spent £45,000 on a dilapidated beach hut, it's a bulletproof investment. How to master shopping second-hand, and the best places to find designer bargains. Ineos tells Starmer to reverse no new North Sea gas or oil pledge or risk future of Grangemouth. Telegraph. The Grangemouth refinery, which supplies much of Scotland and northern England's petrol and diesel, could face cutbacks or closure if the Labour Party goes ahead with plans to ban new oil and gas projects in the North Sea, according to the chairman of Ineos, Andrew Gardner. The refinery relies on oil and gas from the North Sea for energy and raw materials, and a ban on new drilling would threaten its existence. Grangemouth is the only remaining crude oil refinery in Scotland and employs over 2,000 workers. Iran's IRGC must be immediately classified as terrorists. Telegraph. The current conflict between Israel and Hamas should be seen as a battle between the adversaries of democracy and democratic values, according to Maddie Heaven, director of International Organizations to Preserve Human Rights and a Tory councillor. She argues that the conflict is not solely about the Palestinian-Israeli differences, but rather a struggle against democratic values on a global scale. Heaven calls on the UK government to offer unflinching support to Israel in order to ensure that democratic principles are not compromised by authoritarian rule. She also urges the UK government to classify the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization in order to prevent similar tragic scenes to those witnessed in Israel on the streets of London. Tens of thousands march across UK as situation worsens in Gaza. The Independent. Tens of thousands of people gathered for pro-Palestinian demonstrations across the UK on Saturday, expressing concern over the situation in Israel and Gaza. Marches took place in London, Manchester, Liverpool, Edinburgh, and other parts of the UK. Demonstrators carried flags and chanted slogans, calling for world leaders to condemn Israel's actions. The protests follow an attack by Hamas last week, which left hundreds of Israeli civilians and soldiers dead. The UN, human rights groups, and others have expressed concern over the impact of Israeli action on civilians, as the death toll continues to rise. We spent £45,000 on a dilapidated beach hut, it's a bulletproof investment. Telegraph. Beach huts have become a sought-after property investment in the UK, particularly in areas like Wells next the sea in Norfolk. The huts offer a simpler way of life, away from computers and mobile phones, and provide a place for families to enjoy the beach and each other's company. Despite the lack of amenities, beach huts can command high prices, with some selling for over £400,000. The scarcity of beach huts, particularly those that allow overnight stays, helps to maintain their value. Some owners rent out their huts to cover the annual site fees, while others give them away to low-income families when they are not in use. Beach hut prices tend to be linked to local house prices, with coastal towns like Whitstable and Wells next the sea experiencing the greatest price increases. Although prices have stabilized in recent years, they have not fallen. Buyers tend to be older individuals with disposable income who want a weekend or holiday home by the sea. Rural councils launch meaty resistance against vegan trend. Telegraph. Several rural councils in the UK have voted to keep meat and dairy on the menu at local events, schools, and cafes in response to a growing trend of councils banning animal products. Suffolk County Council is set to become the third council to defy the vegan trend, following Cornwall and North Northamptonshire councils. The council will vote on a motion that ensures locally sourced meat and dairy options are always provided alongside plant-based options at catered events. The move is being hailed as a rural fightback against the push for veganism. DUP making progress in post-Brexit trade talks, says Donaldson. The Guardian. The Democratic Unionist Party, DUP, will not revive power sharing in Northern Ireland unless its concerns over post-Brexit trading arrangements are addressed, according to party leader Jeffrey Donaldson. Speaking at the party's conference, Donaldson said that new arrangements must be capable of winning the support of both unionists and nationalists. The DUP has been in talks with the UK government for months over the Northern Ireland Protocol, which reframed the province's trading relationship with the UK. Donaldson said that the Windsor framework, which emerged from the talks, represented progress but did not resolve fundamental issues. TV presenter Patrick Kielty sends message of hope to Israel and Palestine. The Independent. Late Late Show host Patrick Kielty, whose father was killed during the Troubles, has sent a message of hope to families suffering in Israel and Palestine. He said the hurt and pain on both sides is sadly the same, but that Ireland is living in peace and he hopes for those suffering in the conflict that their miracle comes soon. Can the Sloaney urban runabout du jour cope with motorways and muddy fields? Telegraph. Sales of convertibles have fallen by over 80% in the UK in the past 20 years, according to figures from the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. In 2004, 95,000 convertibles were sold in the UK, compared to just 16,000 in 2018. Various factors have been blamed for the declining popularity of convertibles, including hot summers which make them too warm, and rainy, unpredictable summers. Increased economic pressures, leading to drivers looking for cheaper cars, and the fact that manufacturers are offering fewer convertible models than in the past have also been cited as reasons. The author of the article reminisces about her experiences of riding in convertibles, before test driving a new electric convertible Fiat 500. While acknowledging the car's limitations, the author concludes that they are comfortable, playful and extremely nimble, and well suited to city driving. Pro-Palestinian protests take place across UK. BBC. Pro-Palestinian protests took place across the UK, with thousands marching in London and Manchester. The protests come after Hamas launched an attack on Israel, resulting in the deaths of over 1,300 people. The protests were largely peaceful, although the Metropolitan Police warned that anyone showing support for Hamas or deviating from the route could face arrest. The police were also aware of people lighting flares and fireworks and said action would be taken against those in possession of or throwing them. The protests took place in several other UK cities, including Liverpool, Bristol, Cambridge, Norwich, Coventry, Edinburgh, and Swansea. Hello, I'm Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees. Today, we have a range of interesting news stories to discuss. From the potential closure of the Grangemouth refinery due to political decisions, to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, and the pro-Palestinian protests taking place across the UK. We'll also cover the rising popularity of beach huts as a property investment, the shift towards second-hand shopping, the rural resistance against the vegan trend, and the declining sales of convertibles. So, let's dive in. First up, the chairman of Ineos warns that the Labour Party's plans to ban new oil and gas projects in the North Sea could lead to the closure of the Grangemouth refinery, which supplies much of Scotland and northern England's petrol and diesel. It's a classic case of political decisions impacting real-world consequences. So, Keir Starmer, your move. Moving on to the conflict between Israel and Hamas, we have Maddie Heaven arguing that this is not just about the Palestinian-Israeli differences but a battle against democratic values on a global scale. She urges the UK government to offer unflinching support to Israel and classify the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. Well, that's one way to see it, but it's a complex situation with no easy solutions. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of people gathered for pro-Palestinian demonstrations across the UK, expressing concern over the situation in Israel and Gaza. The protests highlight the growing global awareness and support for the Palestinian cause. It's a reminder that people's voices can still make a difference in shaping political discourse. On a lighter note, beach huts have become a sought-after property investment in the UK. Who knew that a dilapidated beach hut could be a bulletproof investment? But hey, if it brings families together and allows them to enjoy the beach, why not? Just make sure you have a good insurance policy for those stormy days. The rise of second-hand shopping is an interesting trend, with major retailers recognizing the need to offer sustainable options. It's not just about saving money, it's about saving the planet. So, next time you're shopping, consider giving pre-worn garments a chance. Who knows, you might find a designer bargain. In a rural fight back against the vegan trend, several rural councils are defying the push for veganism by ensuring that meat and dairy options are always provided alongside plant-based options at local events. It's a reminder that dietary choices can be a contentious issue, even at the local council level. In the world of politics, the DUP is making progress in post-Brexit trade talks, but they won't revive power sharing in Northern Ireland unless their concerns are addressed. It's a delicate balancing act to find a solution that satisfies both unionists and nationalists. Good luck with that. Finally, we have TV presenter Patrick Kielty sending a message of hope to Israel and Palestine. As someone who has experienced the tragic consequences of conflict in Northern Ireland, he understands the pain and hopes for peace. Let's hope his message resonates with those who have the power to make a difference. That wraps up our news summary for today. Remember, these are just brief snapshots of the stories. If you want to dive deeper, do your own research and form your own opinions. Now, let's open the floor to discussion. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you agree with the views presented? And most importantly, what's your take on beach huts as a bulletproof investment? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.